Greetings, and thank you for tuning in to the Manifest Wellness Podcast. I'm your host, Lima Pasha, Executive Wellness Coach and Business Consultant. I help women business owners and professionals manifest wellness by teaching them how to go from drained to reclaimed. So, you might ask, what's love got to do with it? Well, a whole lot. I'm sure you know that. Love and relationships are at the paramount of everything we do, from our professions to just our self-care and just everything. So please stay tuned to the end. We're going to talk about some transformational stories of love. We're going to talk about the pain and emotional uh, connection, and then I have a special announcement towards the end. So without further ado, I'm so happy to bring to you Carine Kamara. She is an acupuncturist and spiritual coach who has helped hundreds on their journey towards clearing blockages to heal themselves and be able to love more freely, more joyously. Without a more introduction, I would love you, Corinne, to introduce yourself and tell people what led you to the field of acupuncture with the focus on love. Your path is so unique and so needed and critical, especially in this time that we're in today. So I'd love for you to just tell from your perspective what led you to and being an acupuncturist with a focus on love.
Well, thank you so much for having me. It's a pleasure to be here. And so, my trip to becoming an acupuncturist was really one of healing my body. My mom has always taught me about natural healing, and I've always been attuned to finding a way to have my body heal on its own using nutrition, exercise, mindset. This is something that I've always been attuned to. And of course, life brings you to places where you are given a path. And I was offered a job at an acupuncture school as an office manager, not even knowing what acupuncture really was, but just needing a job, right? So I started working there. And then I had a cyst on my ovary, and the doctor wanted to do surgery. But I was so freaked out about getting surgery that I decided to try acupuncture instead. And so I started doing acupuncture, even though I am afraid of needles and I'm still afraid of needles. I don't like getting shots. So it was it was a very brave on my part to do something that in normal circumstances I wouldn't have tried. But the fear of surgery was bigger than my fear of needles. So I decided to do acupuncture. And within 2 months, my cyst was dissolved. Not only that, it really helped my menstrual cramps. Like I had level 10 and beyond of really painful menstrual cramps. And after the acupuncture and the herbs, my cramps pretty much went down to like level 3 where they became manageable. And it was so miraculous for me that I decided that I wanted to be a healer of some sort. I was thinking about different paths after college, and it just made acupuncture made sense for me because it was energetic, it was physical, there was nutrition involved, there was movement, there was breath work. It's a Chinese medicine, it's this whole system of healing that I fell in love. And I was like, okay, this is what I want to do. And I decided to become an acupuncturist. I did the schooling. I moved from New York to San Francisco. And in my move from New York to San Francisco, I broke up with my boyfriend at the time. At the time I was like 24. He was like the love of my life. I thought I was going to get married and all that. And in that heartbreak, I was completely lost. And I again turned to acupuncture. And acupuncture in that is also a very strong emotional release. It helps to balance you, helps to give you clarity. That's after a few sessions working on my heartbreak, I decided to move to San Francisco. I wanted to move to San Francisco with the intention of finding who I am, finding my power, becoming more loving. I wanted to just find myself because I had spent so much time giving myself to a man, which I'm sure many women can relate to when they're in a relationship where they just forego their own needs and desires to be in a relationship. I decided to move to San Francisco. I found teachers and mentors and people that really helped me understand what unconditional love was and is, at the same time going to acupuncture school. And of course, I've been healthy most of my life. I stopped eating sugar when I was 20. I've been plant-based. I exercise, I meditate, I do all the things, but I still wasn't getting better. I was getting acupuncture regularly. And it wasn't until I started incorporating love as a healing energy that my life really started to shift. So it was more than just checking all the boxes, doing the green juice, doing the yoga, all that stuff. It was really about self love, self acceptance, forgiveness, compassion, having empathy for myself and for others. And once I was able to do that for myself, then my health started to shift, my life started to shift. And so that's the energy I bring into my healing work with my clients. It's more than just getting acupuncture, working out, doing all of those things. It's also about how can I forgive myself? How can I love myself? How can I accept myself? How can I let go of my childhood pains? How can I let go of heartbreak? That's a big one for a lot of us, right? We get our heart broken and that's it. Our whole trajectory of our life becomes about this pain point for many women that can turn, and men, it can turn into cancer. It can turn into digestive pain. It turns into headaches. It turns into migraines. I've had so many clients that have had traumatic things happen to them. Like one of my clients got raped at 18, developed endometriosis years later. And she has this pattern with men where when she's in a relationship that's not working for her, she suddenly gets chronic debilitating migraines.
Mm.
And it really wasn't about the migraines in the physical form. It was really about the emotional pain where she feels like she's not living the life that she wants to live and she's being controlled by a man and she can't get out of it. Once she was able to get out that relationship and find herself, rejuvenate her heart, do all those things, her migraines are now gone. So those are the types of things I enjoy working with, because really health is important, but I really feel like our heart and our emotional well-being
Mm.
sets a tone for the way we live our lives.
Wow, that's powerful. Yes. Oh my goodness. So, can you tell us a little bit about acupuncture and what it is for someone who may have not experienced it yet? Um, I've been to an acupuncturist one time,
Yeah.
and it was a good experience. And now
Mhm.
that I know about you, I'm gonna try you out too. I like the connection that you make
Yeah.
between the physical healing and the emotional healing that people need to do. So, can you tell us a little bit about what that experience is like for the client?
Yeah. So one of the things about Chinese medicine and acupuncture, it's about balancing our energy bodies. So we have 12 main meridians and we have two other extra meridians that go into the center of our body. And so it's all about creating balance in our system. So when we have one meridian that is that's always connected to an organ, an emotion that's off, it creates an imbalance in the body. So I often think about or compare acupuncture meridians to having multiple rivers moving in multiple directions. And if the river is not going where it needs to go, like we all know, it gets backed up, right? If there are rocks, sticks that are preventing the water from moving from A to B, it creates stagnation. And we all know what happens with stagnated water, right? It gets murky, there's mosquitoes, it becomes unpleasant. And that kind of what happens in our body when we have a backup of energy, stuckness, blood, movement, oxygen, that creates pain. And when that creates pain, then we now are like, oh my God, my back hurts, my shoulder hurts, or I have some kind of intestinal organ dysfunction. Acupuncture can help balance that. And it does that by inserting needles in specific points to help bring movement into those meridians. That movement involves oxygen and involves blood. We move blood. Blood comes with all the nutrients in our body. It comes with all the red blood cells, the white blood cells. Our immune system gets activated. We put needles in the body because they're metal, and metal is a conductor of heat and electricity, right? The needles go into the fascia, which is a connective tissue that connects all the muscles, nerves, everything that's physical has fascia around it. So you put a needle in it, and fascia has water and electricity that conducts it. That's how our body's electricity. Our heart is electromagnetic. You put a needle in it, and something gets activated because it's metal. So your body's like, oh, there's something happening here. There's something happening in your arm. There's something happening here.
Mm.
And the energy starts to ping pong and starts to move. And it's a self-healing mechanism. Like, I'm putting the needles in your body based on the diagnosis, but then your body's reacting by waking up your immune system, by waking your energy, moving oxygen places, and your body starts to heal. Our bodies are amazing healing, have amazing healing capacities. You give it the right nourishment, the right movement, the right energy, the right mindset, the right emotional space for you, your body will start to heal itself. So really, acupuncture is helping your body heal in a way that it becomes stronger and more efficient. And because it works on the mind, body, spirit level, you're able to heal on multiple levels.
Yes, that's amazing. Can you tell us what is the most common blockage that you see and have helped people with?
hmm Well, I think because I work mostly with women, a majority of my clients are women. I would say my biggest blockage that I see with women is really heartbreak. So oftentimes women get their heart broken. Their first initial heartbreak is oftentimes their father, right? And then it compounds. So then it becomes their husband, it becomes their boyfriend or whatever have you. And then it gets scabbed over, and then they're dealing with children and they're dealing with life, and then, or they were abused or something happens to them. And then all of a sudden, their 40s and late 30s, they're like, whoa, what just now everything is coming out. And so I'm oftentimes working with clients that have had a lot of stuff happen in their life and they haven't really put a lot of attention to it. And then finally their body is like, we're done. Like, either they have some kind of mental or emotional or most likely a physical breakdown, because most people are coming to me for a physical breakdown, right? They're recovering from cancer. They have some kind of pain. Something's happening physically because it's an unresolved emotional thing that they've had for many, many years. So oftentimes most often it's some kind of heartbreak, and it's often, and that and overwhelm. I feel like those are the two things that I deal a lot with. So I deal a lot with reproductive issues, menstrual cramps, any kind of reproductive something or other, fibroids, endometriosis. I do a lot with migraines, headaches, post-op for cancer, chemo, all of those chronic stuff, digestive, Crohn's, IBS. Um, and a lot of times people have things, autoimmune stuff, like they have diseases or illnesses that are not necessarily, they can work and live their lives, but they're just not thriving. They're
Right.
surviving. And I want people to thrive. You have chronic, I mean, I had one client who had a C-section 20 years ago, and she was still dealing with the C-section numbness and weirdness. She was having pain every time she had bowel movements. It was like for 20 years. And we had 3-4 sessions and it went away. And she was kind of like amazed on how good she could feel in her body. And that's like what I love to help women get to the place where they're like, oh my God, I had no idea I could feel this good again.
Right.
Because
Wow.
then, yeah,
Yeah, your work is so transformational. Um,
yeah.
I wanted to explore a little bit about how does self-love and emotional relief translate to people moving into more loving relationships and fully
hmm
experiencing loving partnerships. We talked about that a little bit.
hmm
But you might have a story that you could describe or something you want to dive in.
Yeah. Well, most of the time when people are not loving themselves, they're not taking care of themselves, and then you're like expecting to love someone or give somebody something from a place of deprivation and emptiness. And so my analogy is always like, you can't offer people water when your pitcher's empty. And you always want to have a full pitcher of love and abundance so that you're coming from a place of sharing. And so a lot of the times with my clients that feel deprived, they feel low energy, they feel they feel shriveled up. It's hard to imagine being in a relationship because the relationship's always going to have this weird energy of demanding someone to fill that up for you because you're not filled up yourself. So that's where the self-love comes in. And oftentimes self-love could be triggering for people because they're like, well, how do I love myself? So sometimes I even go from, how about you just self-care? Care about yourself, respect yourself, do things that make you happy, that put a smile on your face, that give you joy. Like, follow your joy, like be happy, find ways to be happy, even if it's not all day, but find 5 minutes in your day to find something that you know for sure is going to bring you joy. If it means dancing in your living room, watching some kittens on YouTube, find something and build upon that space of finding joy and excitement and passion, because that only not only will that help you attract the relationship, but also help with your body and help with your health and help with your energy flow. Because a lot of the times, if we're not feeling that passion or that joy for ourselves, it's hard to even heal from whatever element we're going through. And almost nobody wants to be in a relationship when they don't feel well, right? Because
Right.
if you don't feel well, you don't look good. You feel kind of like your energy just goes down. And then if you're finding someone, usually that person tends to be an abuser, right? Because abusers are always looking for a vulnerable person that they can control, and then you end up being in these environments that are not necessarily benefiting you.
Mhm.
And I can say that from personal experience. Like, that's always, like, you always meet these abusive relationships because there's something inside of you that feels wounded. So it's so important to heal those spaces with people that are loving, like finding coaches, teachers, pastors, churches, like wherever you can go to find that spiritual fulfillment. And meditate, talk to God, pray, like talk to nature, find ways to connect to something higher than yourselves, and have a purpose and bring that out. And living your purpose and living your passion, living your joy will attract everything you want in your life.
Yes, definitely. Um, and I teach mindfulness, so that is a big part of it. So I wanted to ask you a little bit about, do you have any transformational love stories that you could share from a client or something
Mhm.
like that that you've seen, or has anybody come back and shared with you? Uh,
Yeah. Well, I have one. I mean, it's kind of a sad and good story. So I had one client that came to me because she was trying to get pregnant, right? And she came with her husband, and her husband was like disconnected on the phone, very weird. I was kind of like, okay, like that's interesting. He never came back, but she kept coming. And for us, we were like working on her body, working on her cramps, working, and her body was reacting better and better and better. But the stronger she got physically, the stronger she got emotionally. And then she started to be like, well, I don't know if I want to have a baby with this man. He's an alcoholic, he's abusive. Her voice got louder and louder and louder and louder as her body got stronger. And eventually she left him. She had the will and the power to leave an abusive relationship she was in for like 9 years, and she found her own place. She's never lived alone. She found her own place. She got a boyfriend. Like, she's just living her best life. And it was so beautiful to see. So she came to me because she wanted a baby.
right.
And then she left, leaving her husband, finding a new man, and living this completely different life. I mean, she will probably, if she wants a baby, she'll get one or adopt one or something. But it was really interesting because she came in for one thing and got something else. And I didn't encourage her to leave her husband. It wasn't even about that. It was really about me encouraging her to find her heart, her strength, her joy, her what makes you happy. If you're coming to me saying you're not happy, I'm like, what's going to make you happy? Let's figure
Right.
out how to make you happy, and how do you not feel so much pain in your body around the situation. So
Yeah.
that was one transformational story that ended, was heartbreaking. It's always heartbreaking to break up with someone and all of that.
Mhm.
But now she's happier and she has a new partner, and I wish her the best.
That's great. That is great. So you kind of talked a little bit about that pain attraction versus love attraction. Do you want to
Mhm.
talk a little bit more about that? I love how you talked to, with that particular client. It sounds like that self-awareness was something that
Mhm.
opened up in her too. But can you talk a little bit about pain attraction versus love attraction?
Yeah, so coming from a place of pain is often coming from a place of fear. So then you're never really capturing what you want because you're always thinking about the pain, the fear. I don't, being in a relationship, I don't want to go into this relationship because I don't want to feel X, Y, and Z. Like, I don't want to be hurt. I don't want to be vulnerable. I
Mhm.
don't want to X, Y, and Z. So when you're
Right.
in that space, that's kind of what's going to happen, right? You're going to meet someone that's going to ghost you. You're going to meet someone that's going to be mean to you. Like, there's always going to be this reflection of your
Mhm.
inner world. And it's not easy, but moving into a place of like, I want to be in a loving relationship because I want to feel love. Like, I want to give love. I want to be in a space where I feel expansion and joy and happiness. Then you attract a totally different type of person. You attract a different person that sees your light and wants to reflect that light back to you and also wants to take in your love. So really, and that comes from within. So having that self-love is really about knowing that you're loved, that you're worthy, that you're amazing, that you're beautiful, that you have so much to offer, and holding to that and not allowing anyone to dictate how you feel about yourself. Because often when we're in abusive relationships or we're in relationships that are from pain, we're allowing that other person to dictate how we feel, right? This other person will say, oh, you're not good enough or you're not beautiful. They start emotionally abusing you, which doesn't feel like abuse in the moment because it's almost things that you think about yourself, of yourself, right? So somebody else is just validating what you feel about yourself, and it doesn't even feel like abuse sometimes because you're like, okay, well, I feel that way about me, but that's all a lie.
Right.
So that's why it's so nice to have friends that are positive, beautiful, supportive people that can be like, hey, that's not okay. That's actually is abusive. And I mean, I was in a relationship a few years ago and I didn't even realize it was an abusive one until I told somebody and they were like, that's abuse. I was like, you're right. That was abusive. Like, because you just don't, it doesn't really hit you until you are actually, it gets reflected on you because you're so in it. And
Right.
that's why it's like an endless journey of learning how to love yourself and accept
Mhm.
yourself and to see, okay, this isn't okay. Like, I
Right.
want more from my life. And so focusing on love and growth can attract the type of things that you want in your life, different experiences.
Yes. Definitely. Yeah. So that power of self awareness and also sharing our stories and talking to each other, that open communication, like what we're doing here, is
Hmm.
so important because we kind of understand that we're not alone and understand
Right.
that different emotional things that are happening within our lives can heal and can get better. We don't have to just stay in that loop. um,
Yeah, totally.
so, can you tell me a little bit about community and what role it's played in your maybe either in your business or in your life?
Mhm.
Because here I usually talk a little bit about gratitude, visualization, or community. So I often ask people, what role has community played for you?
Oh my God, everything. Everything. Like my community that I found in the Bay Area when I moved from New York was everything I've dreamed of and more. Like having friends that are like ride or die, friends that are extremely positive and loving and supportive, friends that you can actually have deep conversations with, friends that are gonna like be that have your back for real, like not just say they are, but they aren't. It's really special to have a good group of friends. I think it's like so important. And I don't think I know for sure I would not be where I am today in my business or in my life or if I didn't have the unconditional love of my friends that really taught me what unconditional love was because I didn't feel that growing up. I felt unloved with my family and I felt like I was like this lone wolf out in here in this planet. And having a community is so important because it grounds you in your truth and it allows you to be yourself, to be able to express yourself with people that see you, validate you. You know, you can have these conversations like, oh, what's this is happening, this is happening, like what do you think, like, you know. And it's impossible to grow unless you have people that give you some kind of observational criticism. Be like, hey, not even a criticism, just like, hey, this is happening, are you okay, is this what you really want, you know. Like having a coach, I don't know, like, or a teacher or a mentor, I think it's invaluable because it's beautiful to have somebody that can see your potential even if you can't see it within yourself, and they just keep pushing you to hit that potential and beyond. Because by yourself, you'd be like, oh, okay, maybe I'll get there. But when you have somebody be like, I see you up here, you're why are you playing here? You're playing low. Like, why? And you're like, yeah, why am I playing low? I should be up, I should be bigger. Why? You know what I mean? Like, I feel like that's so important to have people that are like, you're amazing.
Yes.
You're amazing. And why don't you think you're amazing? I see that you're amazing. I want you to feel that you're amazing as much as I see you as. Like, I want you to see what I see in you.
Right.
And that's been everything. And I mean, I'm so, so grateful for my
Mhm.
friends. Like, they're
That's
everything.
great.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, that's powerful. I agree. Like sometimes people can't see themselves. They can't see everything in themselves
Right.
without that outside person or community
Yeah.
looking in saying, okay, you're good at that. Or you know,
Right.
did you ever think about digging deeper into that, and people were like, "Oh yeah, I see that now."
Hmm.
So that's powerful. Um, and you are a business owner,
Yeah.
and can you tell me a little bit about that, being a business owner, and what your journey has been like? How long have you been in business, and anything you would like to share about that?
I've been in business for 11 years, which is so crazy. And I feel like my biggest thing with my business, it's been constantly changing. Like I've um, changed it a lot of times. And I think the beginning of my business, I kind of was not sure what I wanted to do as an acupuncturist or as a healer. So I kind of just went with the tide, like, oh, I should focus on pain because that's what all acupuncturists do. I should do this, I should do that. And then I never really found what I wanted to do because what I wanted to do felt so abstract. Like I wanted to talk about love, I wanted to talk about spirituality. But at 30 years old, I just graduated. I was like, well, who's going to take me seriously? It's so abstract and weird. And I tried to do other things, but then it always came back to that. And eventually I was like, you know what? This is what I like doing. So this is what I'm going to do. And the minute I just dropped into like, I'm just going to follow my joy and follow what I'm passionate about. And I don't care how weird it is. I've been much happier and my business has been flowing. Like I've been getting more clients, more referrals. And I really think the biggest thing as a business owner, I would say to anyone that's starting a business is just literally follow your heart and follow your passion. And you're going to fail a lot of the times. And you just got to keep going and got to keep going and be okay to be flexible. I think the last 2 years, I had one thing and I had to flow into something else. I had to constantly be willing to shift and change and be flexible and just, go where God leads me. For me, it's like, okay, I just got to surrender to like where I'm meant to be and just allow that energy to kind of guide me to my next step
Mhm.
and be okay with it. And so right now, I'm just loving my practice and my work and just enjoying the process and, praying for more support and help. I'm always like, okay, I'm ready to like take my business to the next level with a team. That's my next phase,
Great.
is creating a team.
Yeah, that's great. That's amazing. Can you tell me a little bit about if someone else is interested in becoming an acupuncturist, what would you recommend?
Well, a lot of people become acupuncturists without ever trying it, which I always think is kind of interesting. So I would say make sure that you've had acupuncture treatments and you like it because, it's not an easy schooling. The schooling is not very easy. It's a very challenging program. It like sucks your bone marrow. So one of the advice I got when I was starting acupuncture school was to make sure that you love it. Because if not, it's not going to be a very beneficial time for you because it's hard work. And also make sure you're doing it for the right reasons because you're not going to become a millionaire being an acupuncturist. So you kind of have to know, okay, like, I truly want to help people in this way because of X, Y, and Z. So you have to have your heart has to be in it. I would say would be number one. Um, yeah, and find a school that you resonate with. And another thing about acupuncture school, most of the schools, you're in school, so you're going to learn what they're going to want to teach you. And when you graduate, that's really when it starts. I remember I was apprenticing with an acupuncturist who was an acupuncturist at that time almost for 30 years. And he was like, yeah, after 10 years, you can call yourself proficient. And I agree. Like it's been at my 10-year mark, I was like, oh yeah, now I could say I'm proficient at acupuncture because
Right.
it's such a depth of knowledge that you need to learn. And it's really an art form because there's so many ways that you do it. And it's really an energy medicine. So it's learning about yourself. I think the biggest thing about being any kind of healer is to heal yourself, to work on yourself, to constantly be working on yourself, growing, being aware, having self awareness, observe, like learn who you are and be willing to just flow with where the medicine and the path kind of takes you.
That's great. So, do you have any closing words, and would you like to share how people can reach you?
Yeah. My website is Carine Camara, and it's spelled Carine, Camara, Camara.com. And you can find me on Instagram. I'm mostly on Instagram, Carine J. Camara. I have a podcast as well called the Infinite Love Podcast you can tune into. And for me, I would say my parting gift is to don't never underestimate the power of love, because love is truly medicine. And, you know, hugs from your grandma, cookies from your mom, rubs on your belly, hugs, kisses, all of those things are also extremely healing. So it's more than just doing all the quote unquote right things. I would say find people to love and receive love and connect with people, open up your heart, enjoy life, smile, watch funny movies, and try to live your life as positively as you can with open heart and joy. And of course, do all the healthy things too. But I feel like that's a piece that's so vital. And it's free, and you can do it all the time, every day, all day.
That's great. So I have a special announcement that I wanted to make. I am going to be hosting a mindfulness power hour on Wednesdays beginning on December 1st in my Facebook group, Lima Pasha MBA. So check the description box here on YouTube. You can join my mindfulness power hour. We are focused on building community and generating uh, more positivity, more hope, more joy, more love for all of us during this time and beyond. And so I would like you to go ahead and subscribe. We bring new content every week here, and live a life of purpose and manifest wellness with visualization, gratitude, and community. See you next time.